2012 Cup champion Brad Keselowski finished last year strong, but broke his leg slipping on ice this offseason.
He is so enthusiastic and energetic. His rehab is going really well. He's really bullish on his ability to be in the car for Daytona. Everything's going as planned.
The truth about Brad Keselowski is out. The team owner and driver broke his leg in the offseason and won't race at Bowman Gray. But it's not the injury that has fans losing it. It's who's replacing him in the flagship number 6 car. Wednesday, January 8th, 2026 will go down as one of those days NASCAR didn't see coming. Brad Keselowski, the 2012 Cup Series champion and co-owner of RFK Racing, confirmed he'd missed the season-opening clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. The reason? A broken leg. But this wasn't a racing injury. No crash at a test session, no flip during practice. The story behind it is almost harder to believe than the injury itself. December 18th, 2025. Keselowski was on a ski trip with his family. He dropped his daughter off for ski lessons, parked, and stepped out onto ice. One slip, one fall. The biggest bone in his body snapped. I think everybody thinks I did it on the slopes, which sounds a lot cooler than the actual story I have, but it just was a freak accident, Keselowski told Fox Sports. The fall sheared his right femur, not compound, but severe enough to require emergency surgery in Boone, North Carolina. Doctors inserted titanium hardware. The pain? Worse than anything in his racing career. I've broken fingers, wrists, ribs, ankle. Before racing, I broke my nose, Keselowski said. None of them come close to hurting as bad as breaking your femur. The femur heals relatively fast. Standard recovery time is 8 to 12 weeks. The clash at Bowman Gray is February 1st. The Daytona 500 runs February 15th. That's 8 weeks and 3 days of recovery by the 500. Medically, it works. But being healed and being race-ready are different things. I didn't want to rush back, Keselowski said. If all the rehab went perfect, we'd be ready literally the day of the clash. That seemed foolish. No margin for error, no testing, just show up and hope. That's not how championship teams operate. So RFK Racing announced LaJoie will pilot the flagship number 6 Ford at Bowman Gray. For fans who follow NASCAR, this landed like a thunderclap. LaJoie spent 2024 with Spire Motorsports before a limited 2025 schedule with Rick Ware Racing. He's a solid mid-pack driver with 276 Cup starts. Not a superstar, but experienced. More importantly, LaJoie has history at Bowman Gray. Back in 2012, he won an ARCA race at the quarter-mile concrete oval. He knows the track, he's won there before, and now he gets the keys to one of RFK Racing's primary cars for the biggest exhibition race of the year. LaJoie is a third-generation racer from racing royalty. His grandfather Don is in the New England Auto Racing Hall of Fame. His father Randy won back-to-back Xfinity championships in 1996 and 1997. But despite the pedigree, LaJoie's Cup career has been a journey with underfunded teams. He's had flashes of speed, but consistent results require consistent equipment. Happy to be of service, LaJoie posted on social media. Wishing BK a speedy recovery. Let's go get another trophy at the Madhouse. The Madhouse. That's Bowman Gray, a tiny quarter-mile track in Winston-Salem hosting races since 1949. Fender-banging chaos. The clash being held there instead of Daytona marks a significant shift for NASCAR's exhibition opener. LaJoie, a driver who spent most of his career with mid-tier teams, suddenly gets thrown into the spotlight with equipment from a playoff-caliber organization. The pressure is immense. The opportunity is even bigger. This is his chance to prove he belongs in top equipment. But LaJoie isn't just driving the clash. He's Keselowski's standby driver for the early weeks, including potentially the Daytona 500 if Keselowski isn't cleared. That's the real story everyone's missing. Keselowski hasn't missed a points-paying Cup race since October 2009. That's 581 consecutive starts. Over 15 years of showing up, strapping in, and racing no matter what. The clash being an exhibition doesn't threaten that streak, but if something goes wrong with recovery, LaJoie could be driving in the Daytona 500, the most prestigious race in NASCAR, and a journeyman driver who's never had elite equipment could find himself in a top-tier Ford on the biggest stage in motorsports. Keselowski's rehab runs 6 to 8 hours daily. He works with a medical team from Atrium Health. Progress has been solid, but complications went beyond the broken bone. When the injury happened, Keselowski had no feeling from his knee to his hip. Foot and ankle were fine, but his quadriceps went numb. Nerve damage. The femur break was bad enough, but damaged nerves add a whole different layer of complexity to recovery. "I'm now made of titanium in my leg," Keselowski said. "It's the biggest bone in your body. The good thing is, it's also one of the fastest healing parts." The nerves have been gradually reconnecting. Sensation is returning. Keselowski can nearly walk unassisted and almost lift his leg under his own power. That's massive progress considering where he started just weeks ago. But there's another element that puts everything in perspective. While Keselowski was in the ambulance dealing with excruciating pain, his phone started blowing up with texts about the Greg Biffle plane crash that happened the same morning. Biffle, a close friend and fellow NASCAR driver, had been in a serious aviation accident. "I was thinking I was having one of the worst days of my life. I was in agonizing pain and all kinds of problems going on," Keselowski said. And then you see something like that, you just think to yourself, my problems can be way worse. That's the mindset of a champion. Even in his darkest moment, Keselowski found perspective. His problems were real, but they could have been much worse. Now the focus shifts entirely to Daytona. Keselowski has made it clear he plans to be behind the wheel of the number 6 Ford when the green flag drops February 15th. The medical evaluation at Charlotte Motor Speedway on February 5th will determine if that happens. NASCAR rules allow for a closed test with limited tires, so a driver and his doctors can prove he's physically ready to compete. 3 elements will determine Keselowski's clearance. First, can he physically operate the car? That means working the pedals, turning the wheel, handling G-forces through corners. Second, does he have the endurance to run a full race distance? The Daytona 500 is 500 miles and can last over 3 hours with cautions. Third, can he do it safely without putting himself or other drivers at risk? If the answer to any of those questions is no, LaJoie stays in the car. RFK Racing President Chip Bowers recently provided an update that painted an optimistic picture. Keselowski has already logged time in the simulator, which is a huge step forward. The enthusiasm is there. The determination is there. The question is whether the body can keep up with the mind. He is so enthusiastic and energetic. His rehab is going really well. He's really bullish on his ability to be in the car for Daytona. Everything's going as planned, Bowers said on Sirius XM NASCAR radio. For Keselowski, missing the Daytona 500 would be devastating. Not just because of the points implications with NASCAR's return to the chase format for 2026, but because of what Daytona represents. It's the crown jewel. It's the race every driver wants to win. And at 41 years old, Keselowski knows his window for winning another 500 is closing. He's already said he wants to race into his late 40s. This injury won't stop that plan, but it's a reminder that in racing, anything can happen. Even something as simple as stepping out of a car onto ice can change everything in an instant. For now, the NASCAR world waits. LaJoie prepares for his moment at Bowman Gray, knowing he might need to be ready for something even bigger at Daytona. Keselowski grinds through painful rehab sessions, counting down the days until he can prove he's ready to race again. The truth about Brad Keselowski's injury isn't just about a broken leg. It's about the fragility of a racing season before it even starts. It's about a journeyman driver getting an unexpected opportunity to prove himself. It's about a champion fighting through excruciating pain to do what he loves most. And it all comes down to one test at Charlotte Motor Speedway on February 5th. That's when we'll know if the king of RFK Racing returns to his throne or if Corey LaJoie's fairy tale continues for at least one more race.